Culture change doesn't happen in the boardroom, it happens in thousands of small moments. The manager who pauses a meeting to recognize collaboration. The team that redesigns a process to reflect shared values. By the end of this video, you'll have a repeatable checklist leaders can use right away to turn one stated value into daily habits across their teams. Most leaders already know culture matters. In fact, a recent industry survey found that 94% agree culture drives success, and over 6 in 10 call it essential. That makes learning how to operationalize it a leadership priority. You'll get templates, decision filters, and coaching techniques you can use in next week's one-on-ones to build momentum. We'll show the exact interactions, decision filters, and manager scripts that make values real. And to start, we'll look at how strong cultures are deliberately designed rather than left to chance. If you're new here, please subscribe and like, because I share tips to help you improve your career. We're using a practical, cumulative 12-step framework inspired by the Bamboo HR Definitive Guide. It's designed to move from definition through daily operations to long-term sustainment. Think of it as a roadmap that gives shape and sequence to building a culture that actually works in practice. The first 3 steps form the foundation. Step 1 is defining your mission and values in operational terms, what those values look like as behaviors, not just as slogans. Step 2 is building hiring processes that evaluate cultural alignment alongside technical ability through structured behavioral questions tied to your values. Step 3 is designing onboarding experiences that immerse new hires in the culture from day one. Bamboo HR research shows onboarding is one of the few touchpoints that can quickly shift attitudes, yet only about 39% of employees report receiving explicit culture training. So treat this as a priority. Tactical takeaway: rewrite one job description this week to show at least 2 cultural behaviors next to technical requirements. Steps 4 through 6 make values measurable. Step 4 defines behavioral indicators so integrity or innovation are observable, not vague. Step 5 incorporates these indicators into performance reviews. Step 6 builds recognition programs that reward cultural behaviors as deliberately as results. Don't shortcut. Recognition systems collapse if you haven't defined the behavior first. Tactical takeaway: add one culture-based question into your next quarterly review template. Steps 7 through 9 shift toward reinforcement. Step 7 equips managers with feedback tools to coach for alignment in one-on-ones. Step 8 adapts decision-making frameworks so they consistently reflect cultural priorities. Step 9 introduces cultural pulse checks through short, recurring employee surveys to track sentiment and consistency. Tactical takeaway: add a 3-question pulse survey next month focused on whether team decisions reflect stated values. The final 3 steps sustain the culture. Step 10 ensures promotions weigh cultural leadership as heavily as performance metrics. Step 11 aligns compensation structures with cultural expectations. Step 12 creates continuity plans that protect culture across leadership transitions and scaling. Tactical takeaway: review one upcoming promotion decision for both results and demonstrated cultural behaviors. This framework works because it converts abstract values into operational routines. Research shows that when organizations sequence definition, hiring, onboarding, and measurement, employees report stronger alignment with goals and far less role confusion at scale. With the structure in place, the next challenge is simple but high stakes: making sure every new person you bring in strengthens, rather than erodes, the culture you've worked so carefully to build. Hiring and onboarding are where culture first becomes tangible for new employees, and treating these phases thoughtfully can prevent costly missteps. Hiring is expensive. SHRM data shows the average cost per hire is about $4,129, and the time to fill roles hovers around 42 days. Adding cultural mismatch into that already significant investment further amplifies the cost. Research cited in industry sources also shows that nearly 1/3 of new hires leave within the first 90 days, and about 32% point directly to culture mismatch as the reason. That makes hiring for cultural fit not just a preference, but a necessity. Top-performing companies operationalize this during recruitment. They begin with job descriptions that clearly list cultural expectations alongside technical skills. Start job posts with 2 measurable cultural behaviors, not fake platitudes, and then screen for evidence of those behaviors in resumes and early interviews. For instance, instead of writing values collaboration, specify seeks input from at least 2 colleagues before finalizing project plans. This approach helps hiring managers apply consistent standards across candidates. In interviews, structured behavioral questions remain the most defensible way to assess cultural alignment. Shift from hypotheticals like, "How would you handle conflict?" to, "Tell me about a time you disagreed with a manager's decision." Then require interviewers to follow a 4-step process. Ask for a specific past example, probe for the candidate's direct contribution, connect that response to one defined cultural behavior, and finally score using a 1 to 4 rubric. Adding peers into the process can also sharpen assessments, but protect the organization by giving peer interviewers a brief, structured 5-question guide. This balances authentic peer insight with consistency and legal safety. Onboarding should act as a structured cultural integration, not just policy orientation. Bamboo HR research shows only 39% of employees receive culture training in onboarding, despite it being a critical window. Effective programs build this in by pairing each new hire with a buddy for at least the first month, scheduling weekly check-ins for 5 weeks, and holding 2 dedicated culture-focused touchpoints, one at day 5, one at day 30, to confirm understanding and alignment. Real work examples and shadowing sessions with recognized culture carriers reinforce how values show up in action. Done well, hiring and onboarding anchor culture from the start. The next challenge is ensuring those same values continue to be reinforced in daily operations, so they never drift into decoration on a wall. Embedding culture in daily operations means turning values into the routines, decisions, and conversations that structure work every day. Evidence shows employees rapidly notice when actions and words don't match. A small set of visible leadership behaviors, like meeting structure, promotion signals, and reward choices, either proves company values or exposes them as rhetoric. In a Bamboo HR sample, about 87% of employees said culture supports business goals, and more than 60% called it essential. So leaders can't treat culture like a sidebar. Leadership actions carry particular weight. HBR highlights that the most leak-prone moment is the moment of truth, a visible decision under pressure. Leaders must use decision filters, stop, call the cultural test, then decide. For example, when evaluating a new partnership, a leader can say, "While this looks profitable, it conflicts with our stated value of transparency." To formalize this, add one short line to major proposals. Cultural impact. Does this align with value X? Why or why not? That small addition makes it harder for culture to become an afterthought. Meetings are another consistent arena for reinforcement. Open team sessions with a quick recognition of cultural behaviors and design agendas to reflect stated priorities. If innovation is valued, dedicate agenda time explicitly for experimental ideas. If transparency is emphasized, consider swapping slides for open discussion formats. These structural signals show employees that values guide not just what the company says, but how it operates. Feedback and recognition systems are central. Train managers to tie coaching directly to cultural behaviors. Involving the design team earlier would better reflect our collaboration value. Build recognition programs around specific values rather than generic awards. In the Bamboo HR Culture Survey, recognition, and rewards were rated the top contributor to employee satisfaction, with 31% naming them the most impactful activity. To maximize their effect, keep recognition timely, specific, and visible. Tell the story of what the person did and connect it to the value in action. Even small peer-to-peer recognitions can cascade when publicized effectively. Operational processes deserve the same scrutiny. Approval chains, budgeting models, and promotion criteria either reinforce or undermine stated principles. If your value is empowerment, but your processes demand excessive sign-offs, the system is misaligned. The highest performing companies build cultural checkpoints into standard systems, embedding reminders in project templates, review checklists, and even communications. When these mechanisms align, culture shifts from aspiration to operating system. But when cracks appear, leaders need structured tools to repair misalignment rather than hoping it self-corrects. That is where a different set of levers becomes critical. If you're finding this helpful, please subscribe and like, because it helps us create content that matters to you. Also, if you want to take your skills further, check out our executive education and executive coaching programs at execbeat.com. Cultural misalignment can stall even the best strategies, but there is a proven framework leaders can use to drive meaningful change. The 4 levers of cultural transformation articulate the aspiration, align leadership, foster organizational conversations, and reinforce through design, provide that structure. This 4-lever model follows HBR's evidence-based approach to culture change, and it shows why culture becomes manageable when leaders treat it as systematic rather than incidental. The first lever is articulating aspirations. This means not only naming values, but also analyzing how the current culture drives or blocks outcomes. At a European industrial services company, executives realized their cost-driven culture prevented a pivot to differentiation. By mapping traits directly to market challenges, they framed culture change as a strategic shift, not a feel-good initiative. The second lever focuses on leadership alignment. Culture fails when leaders model inconsistency. A manufacturing firm transitioning to solutions found its own leaders were the biggest obstacle. Their response: integrating cultural criteria into promotions and retraining managers using real business performance cases. Recruiting practices were updated too, screening candidates for evidence of cultural alignment. Success followed because leaders were now visibly and structurally accountable. The third lever is conversation. Culture spreads and solidifies in dialogue, town halls, structured department discussions, and guided peer sessions. In a merger of 2 large retailers, leadership used workshops and structured listening tours to co-create integration principles. For example, HBR casework on retail integration highlights leader selection and redesign of processes as early priorities to preserve complementary strengths. Organizations that use structured conversations actively reduce friction and build ownership. Design is the 4th lever, embedding culture into structures and systems. A Silicon Valley tech company reinforced a learning culture by adjusting performance reviews to include curiosity and knowledge sharing, while also rewarding lessons learned from failed experiments. Organizational design can extend to workflows, compensation, even office layouts, making cultural alignment inescapable. Research underscores that integrated use of all 4 levers produces stronger results than ad hoc efforts. In notable merger cases HBR tracked, combined approaches yielded faster alignment and fewer integration failures. Measurement is equally critical. Leaders should balance sentiment data, pulse surveys, ENPS, with observable behaviors, meeting observations, decision audits. Set specific targets, such as raising the percentage of reviews that link feedback to culture, rather than relying on vague improvement goals. To prioritize, executives can apply a simple filter. Is leadership visibly aligned? Is there a clear cultural aspiration? Are structured conversations underway? Are systems reinforcing the change? Any no defines the immediate starting lever. Addressing gaps at this level strengthens culture as part of the organization's operating system, an operating system that directly underpins performance and business objectives. Culture acts as a driving system for performance, shaping how strategy is executed and experienced. Research from Bamboo HR shows that about 87% of HR and business respondents say culture supports their goals, and 94% say it's important. The difference between aspiration and execution lies in how systematically leaders embed culture into daily processes. Research syntheses confirm that when organizations measure and manage culture deliberately, they achieve stronger engagement, retention, and customer results. To start, run one focused audit this week. Choose a single process, hiring, decision-making, or rewards. Map its top 2 cultural signals, then change one element to match a stated value. That is the smallest test that creates measurable impact. If you'd like the 12-step checklist in a one-page PDF for your leadership team, leave a comment and we'll make it available. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like because it helps us bring you more free videos. And if you're ready to grow your career, visit execbeat.com to learn about our executive education and coaching.